Alright, that should be better. Yeah, I was adjusting the sound a little bit because I thought it was just a little bit too loud still. Hopefully it's alright now, but I can't be sure. So what we're doing today is, sorry, get a bit of a cough. Today we're playing a D&D game, Neverwinter Nights, the Enhanced Edition version, due to upgrades of graphic capabilities and stability. This was released originally in 2002 and is set on the base game, which is the same game that everybody plays, is based on 3rd edition. Some servers will incorporate rules from 3.5. I've heard some servers can go to 4.E, well, 4E or 5E, but I don't think it's possible given the massive mechanic changes. So for the most part, most servers are based on 3rd edition. We're going to be doing the campaign for the base game as well as Hordes of the Underdark because Shadow sucks. It does not hold up very well, over these years. So what's okay? Yeah, as you can see here, we have 3 chapters that are not unlocked because because off screen while setting up we did the prelude in order to unlock it. You can manually unlock it via registration key codes, but they won't do that. We are skipping the prelude, which is basically a glorified tutorial. There's nothing you really can't learn in the prelude that whatever. There's nothing in the prelude that you see or do that does not get learned in chapter 1, so it does not actually matter. It is basically a glorified tutorial. Since since I played this game many times over and over, there is going to be no need for that. And I can explain everything along the way. So let's go into basics of the game. Now here we can create a new character or select a pre-made. We'll be starting with a level 10 character that has +1 equipment as well as a +2 sword. But we will go through the character process anyway. Here we have the race, well, not race, but the gender. It does not actually matter in the base game what your gender is. However, in community expansion packs like Player Resource Consortium, then yes, your gender will matter. So, we'll just do a generic male to show. We will not be saving the character though. Alright, so here we have our races. Again, this is the basic game, so override packs like the Player Resource Consortium do alter your available race selection. These are the basic races as per D&D. Now, if you remember from the Gold Box games, we were a bit more restricted on what we could pick. If I remember correctly, we could not pick a gnome, we could not pick half-orc. These are now available in this 3rd edition game. So let's take a look. Each one has their own sets of skill bonuses, feats, favorite classes, and penalties, as well as skills. Okay, so here we go with the first one, Dwarf. They receive +2 Constitution and -2 Charisma. That makes being a Dwarf Paladin, a Dwarf Sorcerer, or a Dwarf Cleric a little bit harder than normal. Their favorite class is Fighter, which means if you are in a multi-class, then you will not receive any XP penalty when you have Fighter levels. We will not be doing anything other than human variants, so that's kind of irrelevant for us. It receives search checks underground. They can see in the dark. They have poison resistance, spell resistance. They have bonuses against orcs, goblins, and giants, as well as +2 racial bonus to lore checks. Cool. So now here we are, elves. Elves receive +2 dexterity with -2 constitution, which means they are good at sneaking classes, but they are not so good at melee fighting classes like paladin, ranger, and all that. Their favorite class is wizard, which means if they take wizard levels, they are safe from XP penalties. Now here are their special bonuses. They are immune to spells of sleep. They are much more resistant against enchantment spells, which are stuff like hold person, charm person. They have bonus proficiencies, which means they can receive access to longsword, rapier, shortbow, and longbow regardless of their class, which means an elf wizard is actually able to fight a little bit better than your average wizard. And here are the skill affinities. Listen, search, and spot all receive +2, and their keen senses mean they automatically have search detect mode active regardless of whether or not they are walking, running, or in stealth. They also can see better in the dark, much like dwarves. And here we have the gnomes. Gnomes receive +2 constitution and -2 strength. Their favorite class is wizard. Much like elves, they are not so good in melee despite the constitution bonus, because they have a damage penalty with strength lowered. So here are their special bonuses. They get +1 size bonus to attack rolls, +1 size bonus to armor class. They have a size bonus to hide checks, as well as hardiness against illusions, bonuses against reptilians, goblins, giants, and more bonuses to skill checks here. Listen, concentrate, and they have a free spell focus illusion, which means they are very good illusionists, as well as low light vision. Here we go, halflings. Sorry, get a little bit of a gets allergies or something. Alright, so here we have their bonuses. They are very dexterous, but they have strength penalties. Their favorite class is rogue. They are very suited to stealth classes. They are not very good at melee classes, but at physical attack classes. Here are their bonuses. Much like gnome, they receive the same small stature bonuses. They also have better affinity towards moving silently, which is good. As well as listen, they also get +1 to all saving throws, which means they are a little bit better resilient against saving throws based spells. They also have fear bonuses. So if you try to launch a fear spell against someone who's got who's got a lot of saving throw feats as a halfling, good luck. They also receive attack bonuses with using throwing weapons. And much like gnome, they can never use large weapons, which means dire mace, two-bladed sword, double axe, great sword, halberd, heavy flail, quarterstaff, scythe, and spear. Here we have the half-elves. And half-elves are kind of crappy, honestly. They're like they're jack of all trades, but they're master of none. They get bonuses of humans and elves, but it's this kind of messy. It's usually better just to be a pure elf or a pure human. Alright, so like elves, they are immune to sleep spells. They get the racial bonus towards mind affecting spells, but they have a partial affinity to the same skills that elves receive, and they also receive low light vision. Now half-orcs. Oh, and I forgot to say the favorite class for halfling is rogue. Half-elves have any favorite class. Now back to half-orc. Half-orcs receive +2 strength, but they also have -2 intelligence and charisma. They also have a favorite class of barbarian, which means they are very suited towards barbarians. They have no special abilities other than the strength bonus and the stat penalties. They receive dark vision other than that. Now, human. Now, humans have no special feats other than quick to master. They also receive extra skill points per level as well as on creation. They also have favorite class. Humans in the first and second edition were actually the only ones who had unlimited growth in a class. All other races were capped. In third edition, this is no longer the case. All races can go up to the cap of whatever the adventure is. And Neverwinter Night stat is level 40. here we have the portraits. You can select from a few that are prepackaged, and your racial portraits will always be at the top. As you can see, there's a very large range of racial portraits. And you have the generic ones here, which represent classes, and you have the non-racial ones, as well as some NPCs. And you have custom portraits, which you can make in order to fully customize your character appearance. So we'll just choose a generic one. Here we have classes. Now this is your base class. The lowest base class on here is Wizard, and you have the prestige classes which are a different level. And also hello to the people coming in. So here we have Barbarian. Let's take a look at it. A Barbarian must not be a lawful alignment, which means they can never be lawful good, lawful neutral, or lawful evil. They have a very large hit dice. Hit dice means, well, whereas hit die, what it means is how your hit points are calculated. D12 means you always roll a 12-sided die to determine your next amount of hit point. Hit point calculation is basically, it takes your hit die and adds your Constitution modifier. Whatever you roll will always have the Constitution modifier applied to it. They receive proficiencies in all simple and martial weapons, light armor, medium armor, and shields. They have a pretty healthy skill point bonuses per level as well. Ex-barbarians can exist if they ever become lawful. We have bards here. Bards can have some arcane casting ability. You have alignment restriction on non-lawful, which means, like barbarians, they can never be lawful. They have half the hit points of barbarians at D6 hit die. They also have the same weapon proficiencies except for martial weapons. Their spellcasting is arcane, and it's charisma based, so their charisma is their casting stat. Begin the game knowing all cantrips, and like barbarian, if they become lawful, they cannot progress anymore. Here we have cleric. Cleric can be any alignment. As the game will tell you right here, it needs what you need to be packing in your wisdom score in order to cast a spell. So you need 10 plus the spell level. So that's your base amount. That's not your modifier, it's your base amount. So if you want to cast every single cleric spell in the game, you need to have at least 19 base. Your hit die is D8. They have all armor and shields, but it can only use simple weapons. This does not mean you cannot eventually have a cleric that can use like a greatsword or something. That's just your starting out equipment. Their spellcasting is divine, which is wisdom based, and spell failure from armor is ignored. It's actually an important part because spellcasting, for mages or for arcane casters is based on armor. If you have heavy armor on, you are pretty much screwed on trying to cast anything. Here we have the druid. Druid is much like the cleric in that it is divine based. And here you have your alignment restrictions. They are much more restrictive than your other classes, except for monk. Well, monk and paladin. So here you must be a neutral alignment. This means neutral good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, or neutral evil. You cannot be any corner alignment. Corner alignments are lawful good, lawful evil, and chaotic evil. The gimmick there is basically you ascribe to some sort of neutrality, which means you can be neutral good and still help out good guys. You can be evil and help out evil, or all that. It has to be some kind of neutrality, because corner alignments are considered extreme ends. Alright, so here we have fighter. Fighter can be any alignment. They also receive all weapons except for exotic on default. Monk is a fairly restrictive class. It must be any lawful. You have oh, sorry, I forgot to say the hit die. Okay, so cleric gets D8 hit die. Druid gets D8. Fighter gets D10. So monks are any lawful, as well as any They have D8 hit points. They are proficient with monk weapons, which is a combination of a little bit of martial as well as simple, mostly simple. Some classes like a wizard and let's see. Yeah, wizard, sorcerer, and I think just monk have they have all. It's kind of weird. It's easier just to show. So monk. Here we have the paladin. Paladin, much like cleric, is capable of divine spell casting. How old is this game? The original game was made in 2002. This is the re-release, which was released, I think, last year. If not last year, then it was 2017. But I think it was actually pushed out last year. It was in beta for a few months prior. This is actually the enhanced edition version of the 2002 release. Alright, so where was I? Okay, so paladins can only be lawful good. They have D10 hit points. They receive all simple and martial weapons, and as well as all armor and shields. Their spellcasting is paladin spells. Wisdom-based, divine, meaning armor-related chance is ignored. Paladin that is no longer lawful good cannot gain levels in paladin until they are lawful good again. Rangers can be any alignment. They're much like paladins and clerics. They are divine casters. They receive all medium and light armor, but they can take heavy armor later. Now, something interesting about Ranger is, originally in 2nd edition, when the Ranger class was introduced, they could only be good aligned, and in a party, only 3 Rangers could ever be there at one point. Here, that's not the case. You can be any alignment, and it's a little bit, not that restrictive anymore. Rangers actually have a very flexible archetype. You can be the protector of nature, or you can be someone who runs around hunting people, as well as any other combination. Here we have the rogue. Rogues, much like Rangers, are alignment restricted. You can be any alignment now as a rogue, but you have a little bit more limitation. In the 1st and 2nd edition, you had to be some kind of neutral alignment for them. Remember correctly, it's mostly neutral good, chaotic neutral, and true neutral. Maybe neutral evil. I don't remember lawful neutral being, but I could be wrong. It's been a little bit. They receive D6 hit die. They are proficient with rogue weapons and light armor. They cannot equip shields from the start. They also have one of the highest skill points per level. They also have a lot of skills that are marked as class skills. Here we have sorcerers. They are charisma based and they are arcane. They have D4 hit die. They can use all simple weapons. They are not proficient in armor or shields. Here we have wizards. Wizards are in 1st and 2nd edition, wizards were actually magic users back then. All spellcasters were magic users back then. Now they split them up. Now they're split into sorcerer and wizard as a 3rd edition. So we have D4 hit die. They have wizard weapon proficiency. They do not have armor or shield proficiency. And it's arcane based, and it's also intelligence based. You have to prepare spells, unlike sorcerer, which is a natural caster, which can cast on the fly. Spell failure is a factor, and they can use all. They can always use all cantrips and 4 level 1 spells. So let's take a look. Let's just choose generic fighter. Here we have the alignments. Your alignment does have a factor on what classes you can take on that character until the alignment changes. So let's do lawful neutral. It's a generic. Here, unlike 1st and 2nd edition, where you would roll in pen and paper and you could max them all out at 18 in the gold box games, you have to actually use stat location here. Your stat amounts will determine what kind of feats you can use. So let's do just generic stuff right here. But nah, I don't want to put that much in there. Penalties do apply. If you have negative charisma, you would take a penalty on social skills. Same with intelligence, wisdom, constitution, all that. It also, having a low wisdom, constitution, and dexterity also impacts your saving throws. So you do not want to have penalties if you can avoid it. So we still have 6 points left. Let's just do this. That'll be good. Packages are basically laziness. Here we have the skills. Some skills are classes, some are not. This, for example, these two right here, Praise and Bluff, are rogue class skills, but they're not class skills for fighter. Animal Empathy is a class skill for druids and rangers. Having a high discipline skill, it tells you what right here. See, Disarm, Called Shot, and Knockdown. That means you're much more resilient against that. And it's actually pretty thorough about telling you which is what skills and how to best use them, and what armor does. Armor does impact your skill. So we'll just hit recommended because this is just laziness, showing it off. Here we have feats. Now some of these can be picked up along the way, and some, like this, you can only take them at level 1. As in creation, you cannot take them as a level 1 feat of a different class. You have to take it on creation. And here we have the bullheaded feat. Gives you a +2 saving throw on taunt, as well as +1 saving throw on will. Some of these are actually really nice. This, for example, gives you better checks on lore and spellcraft, which can be quite useful as in the mid and late game. This is an example of a feat that can be picked up later on. This gives you improved saving throw against fortitude spells. So here we have an interesting feat. This is Luck of Heroes. It gives you +1 to all saving throws. Now what you'll see on the sheet is it gives you +1 to saving throws to fortitude, reflex, and will. What I'm not actually sure about is whether or not it stacks up with other saving throw types as well, or if it's just luck, or rather if it's just fortitude, reflex, and will. I would have to actually check it. I'm sure someone's done done science and knows. You can also take other certain resistant saving throw feats, such as specific ones like this against disease or poison. And once you have increased skills, stats, and better feats, you can unlock more feats. Okay, so let's just take toughness. So toughness gives you +1 hit point per level, as well as if you take it at let's say you take it at level 10, you'll receive +10 extra hit points. But if it doesn't really matter what we pick here. This is just for show. So Silver Palm, which gives us +2 Appraise and Persuade. Here we have the customization. You could do a lot of customization here, such as changing your hair color. Got pure white, pure black. You can put all sorts of tattoos on. Change your starting clothing. Make them larger, make them average. Change your hairstyle, which is basically your head here. See? Some hair colors that can make it really hard to tell from this. And yes, you can have a horned head on there. And if you run with tattoos on, you can change your colors around. Well, change skin color. Be pure black, like this is useful if you want to play a Drow character. Or you could be more like a, let's see, this is kind of a brownish, so I would say more like a Kalim Shan, character. Or you could be have a plain art character with this, really goofy looking shade. Some sub-races are a blue color, like the Genasi.
Get on them! Attack, I say!
You pick your deity, which is only relevant for, for a role-playing service that incorporate that. It's a randomly generated name, like this. You can enter your description. This is a standard generic for a human character. You can also choose your voice. By default, these are what's available. You can install overrides and such that allow you to have more voices. Since we're done with the character creation, we are going to our actual character. Now, as I said, we pre-rolled this already. we are playing a fighter paladin that's also a divine champion. Now, it's called Champion of Torm in this game, and a lot of role-playing servers will change it from Champion of Torm to, Divine Champion, because it's based on the Divine Champion Prestige class, which is a class that can be used by any alignment, not just non-evil in Neverwinter Nights.
In one brutal attack, the promise of those at the Academy had been all but snuffed out. Hope disappeared with the Waterdavian creatures, and the weight of the terrible sickness pressed down on the city once more. Even more chilling, the whispered rumors of enemies seeking to destroy Neverwinter from within had proved true, though the identity of those responsible for the slaughter was as yet unknown. Still, a flicker of hope yet remained, for not all had died in the attack. From the bloody carnage at the Academy, a survivor had stepped forward, a champion to carry the torch in this darkest hour.
So there you have that. I'm just going to, minimize the chat window, because, there's nothing there that you can't see from here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is, okay, as you might be able to tell from the stat layout, well, okay, so this is actually an illegal stat layout. What I did here is actually simulating the Aasimar subrace. It's then by changing it to reflect that. Now, the Aasimar subrace receives +2 wisdom as well as +2 charisma. It also receives a minor elemental resistances as well as a spell-like ability of daylight once per day. And it also receives a little bit of skill affinity towards Vermicrity, Spot, and Listen. Now here we just had the stat bonus increase. This is probably the easiest one to do, and the rest would have required making a custom ring or something. I just didn't give a crap. Didn't care enough to do that. Here, as you can tell, we have 4 fighter, 4 paladin, and 2 champion of Torm. This is a level 10 character. Started with 15 strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution, 14 intelligence, and before the Aasimar subrace bonuses, we had 12 wisdom and 10 charisma. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to enable the cheat mode for a very brief demonstration of the level up system, since it'll be a long time before we actually get enough experience to level up. You see here, this is debug mode, which tells you the NPC trigger, so just ignore that. What we're going to do is take 1 XP point away and re-level. Actually, hold on. Let me save the game first, because I don't want to have to, I'd rather keep this hit points in order to make it, so I wouldn't have to, re-roll or something again. So we'll take away 1 XP point. And we'll turn off debug mode because we don't need it anymore. We are only doing this to show, as you can see, we lost 10 points. Now, this is what it looks like when you have a character that has 3 classes already. Yeah, you can only level up in the ones you picked. And since, even if we did not have Champion of Torm levels, we would not be able to pick Bard or Barbarian because we are lawful good. We cannot pick Druid either. But we could pick any other alignment, because any other alignment is compatible. Sorry, I don't know why I said alignment. We could pick any other class of the base ones, because those are still compatible. Now, let's start with the prestige classes. First, we have Shadow Dancer. Much like the stealth classes of Rogue and Ranger, they have D8 hit dice. Yet the prestige classes have requirements. Now, a fair amount of online servers will script from their end to remove these, because most of the time they're just a needless pain in the ass that actually hurts the player more than it does reward them for being purists and all that. Now we have the level 1 to 10 abilities. But first, let's look at the requirements. You had to have 10 high ranks, 8 in move silent. That's base, not effective. That's an important distinction. As well as 5 tumble ranks. Sorry, I had a little bit of cough. Okay, so the feats here are dodge and mobility, which means you have to meet the requirements for those, as well as you'll take them in order to qualify for Shadow Dancer. Now we have the abilities. We have hide in plain sight, means you can use a stealth check in front of somebody, which is actually incredibly powerful. A lot of PvP servers disable that, or they otherwise heavily modify it. You have evasion, which means if you take damage on a successful reflex save, you do not take damage. You also receive dark vision. Now, if you already have these 2 feats from a different class, as well as the uncanny dodge, you do not receive another one. So if you're like a halfling rogue that takes a shadow dancer, you already have the level 2 feats. Shadow daze, which can inflict a daze, as well as summoning a shadow evade, which gives you bonuses to your defensive abilities, as well as defensive roll, which is actually a level 10 rogue feat that you can pick. Do not get it that way. You do not get it again here. As well as improved uncanny dodge, slippery mind, which means if you fail will saving throw, you get another reroll. As well as improved evasion, which means if you fail a reflex saving throw, you only take half damage. Here we have Harper Scout. Also, a Shadow Dancer can be any alignment. Harper Scout has to be non-evil. It has to have a different set of requirements, as well as alertness and iron will. It also gets Bardic Knowledge, which is if you're taking this alongside Bard, you do not get 2 feats. But from what I remember, Harper Scout will actually stack with Bard, as well as favorite enemy, which is much like the Ranger level 1 feat. You also get you get a saving throw versus traps. You get a sleep as like the spell. +2 saves once per day. Cat's Grace spell. Hero's Heart, which is bonuses versus mind affecting spells. Eagle Splendors. Another favorite enemy, and you can craft items as well as use invisibility when you have it maxed out. Now, unlike the other classes, Harper Scout can never be epic. It only caps out at 5. Now, something interesting to know is the Cat's Grace, Eagle Splendor spells stack with the actual spell or potion. So, in low magic servers with that have an emphasis on items and low level spells, you can actually get a nice little advantage. Now here we have one of the two prestige classes in Neverwinter Enhanced Edition that are actually racially locked. They receive the Arcane Archer is elf or half elf only. They receive 8 hit die. And if you already equipped with these weapons, you will receive them. If you don't already have these feats, you will get them. All simple martial weapons, light and medium armor, and shields. You have to have 6 base attack bonus, which means you cannot take this any earlier than level 7. You have to have a weapon focused longbow or short bow and point blank shot, as well as cast level 1 spells. Hence, you cannot take this feat until level 8, because you need to have 6 levels in a martial class, as well as level 1 spell casting. So the earliest you can take it is level 8. It also receives very potent buffs to arrows. So all arrows that fire to get +1 enchantment, which means extra damage. You also shoot fireball arrows, homing missile arrows, more of those, as well as a arrow, basically an AoE arrow spam, as well as an arrow death that can instantly kill an opponent, which is pretty useful. Okay, so here we have the assassin. Assassins receive 6 hit die. They receive light and simple weapon armor, simple proficiency. Any assassins must be evil. It also requires 8 hide ranks and 8 move silently. It receives a special attack that can paralyze an opponent, which is called a death attack. This also stacks with sneak damage from rogue or blackguard. And much like the Shadow Dancer, does receive some feats that Rogue and already gets. You also get bonuses against poison. You can also render yourself invisible, use darkness, and all sorts of other interesting stuff. And your death attack keeps scaling. Here we have the Blackguard. Must be okay. It's pretty much D10 hit die, and requirements are any evil, base attack 6, hide 5, and you must have the cleave feat, which means actually, this is interesting because the way Neverwinter Nights works is it doesn't check if you have the prerequisite for a feat, just it checks if you have a specific feat. Now let's say you have a monk level, which means if you have monk and you try to qualify for Blackguard, then you can do it because you received the cleave feat. If I remember correctly, this little cheese strat actually applies to items as well. So if you have an item that grants cleave, you'll be able to take Blackguard if you fulfill everything else. It is kind of a cheap, and I'm sure that's why it's easier just to disable all mechanical requirements for a class. All right, so if I use poison, much like the assassin, he receives the use poison ability, which means you never have to worry about coating a weapon with poison and being poisoned yourself. You receive Smite Good, which works exactly like Paladin's Smite Evil, and Paladin and Champion Torm's Smite Evil. It adds your Charisma modifier to your attack roll. You get the Dark Blessing, which works like Paladin, which is Charisma based, saving throw increase. You have negative modifier. You have negative saving throw bonus. You could do Turn Undead, which is like Paladin and Cleric. You can summon a Fiend, which scales up. So summoning a Fiend scales, so does create Undead. In early levels, it's Succubus. In later levels, it's Rock. And you can cast Inflict spells as well as disease spells, and your sneak attack increases. Let's see, you have the Champion Torm, which is what we have on this class. You have the 10 hit dice. A lot of the martial classes share a lot of the same proficiency, so I'm not going to repeat it over and over. The requirements here are a little bit different than most. You have to have 7 base attack bonus, which means you can take this class at level 8 at the earliest. Must be non-evil, and you must have a weapon focus in a melee weapon. If I remember correctly, Unarmed Strike does not actually count for this, which is, it may have actually been fixed in Enhanced Edition, but I remember in Diamond Edition, which was the original release, the last version of Neverwinter Nights before, it was stopped, before it was taken out of stores and all that, you could not use Unarmed Strike, which is a melee weapon, technically, but you cannot use it to qualify for Champion Torm. That may actually be fixed in Beamdog's version, which is Enhanced Edition. So we have Lay on Hands, Sacred Defense, which gives you Lay on Hand works the same way that Paladins does, and Sacred Defense, which is bonus to saving throws, just scales up. Smite Evil, same thing as Paladin. Divine Wrath, which is once per day super bonus. It's equivalent to it's a number of rounds equivalent to your Charisma bonus, as well as Sacred Defense increasing. Now, the thing about Champion Torm is it works well with Fighter or Paladin as well as any other melee class, because it gives them Paladin powers, and it gives Paladins, Fighter powers, or rather Fighter-esque style. Here we have the Weapon Master. D10 hit die, does not gain anything extra. And this is actually a much easier class to get because you can have all these by level 6. If I remember correctly anyway, it's been a while since I built Weapon Master. You have the base attack bonus of 5, you need a melee weapon focus, dodge, mobility, expertise, spring attack, and whirlwind, which is why you see a lot of Weapon Masters who are fighters, because it's much easier to qualify that way. Intimidate 4 more ranks. Now, weapon of choice. This is basically all your Weapon Master abilities will be tied into that weapon. So you have to choose very wisely. You can only be the weapon. You can only choose what ones you have weapon focus in. You have key damage, increase multiplier, which means you can increase your crit damage, superior weapon focus, and key critical, which means so Weapon Master is the big crits class. Think of it in League of Legends terms would be like a fully leveled up weapon master. Let's say level 7 is the fully leveled one. A fully leveled weapon master is like having a 100% crit on Caitlyn, or rather, a 100% crit on Yasuo. You just run around smacking the shit out of people. The weapon master is the big crit damage class. And in epic levels, it actually gets even stupider because of stuff like overwhelming critical, which increases how much damage you do per crit, as well as devastating critical, which means if you roll crit, they either save or they die instantly. Weapon Master is actually pretty bad against in areas that have lots of undead, because undead and golems rather are the two biggest enemies of the Weapon Master, because they can never critical hit them. Now here we have the Pale Master, which is D6 hit die, and it must be non-good, must have level 3 or higher spellcasting in Arcane. And this is an interesting class. Basically it makes you're kind of a little bit tanky. And you can animate the undead, you get AC bonuses, get to summon a greater undead, and all that. And once you hit level 10 in the class, you become immune to critical hits, which is a really good way to screw with a weapon master. Okay, now here we have the Shifter. The Shifter is actually a class that tends to be altered heavily, because you have a lot of potential with the class. It's also fairly restrictive. D8 hit die, no bonus proficiency and all that. You must have alertness and wild shape, which means only druids will ever become Shifter. It's outside of that. So let's see here. Create a wild shape 1, 2, 3. And here it tells you which ones you can do. Infinite Gray Wild Shape, yeah. And your Wild Shape will improve over time. And in epic levels, you can choose even cooler forms. Here we have another racially locked class, the Dwarven Defender. Now it has D12 hit die. And it receives all simple, martial. This is basically a fighter right here. The Dwarven Defender must be lawful, it must be a dwarf, it must have dodge and toughness, as well as base attack 7, which means level 8. Now this is an incredibly tanky class. I'm trying to think of the best League of Legends analogy. And it's honestly, I got no good analogy right away, but it's a very, very defensive class. You get defensive stance, which increases your strength, constitution, and gives you plus 2 of saves and dodge bonuses. You have the Red Dragon Disciple. Now, hit die is special because this one actually evolves over time. You have the requirements of you must be a sorcerer or a bard. This is also another one of the classes online that gets changed heavily. You got the Draconic Armor, which increases your armor class. And this does scale up. And here, you see what I mean by the hit die scaling up. You get Draconic Ability Scores, which increases your strength. Your breath weapon increases, your constitution, your intelligence, and charisma all change eventually. We have the Purple Dragon Knight, which was the last official prestige class added ever in the original release. You must be non-evil, you must be non-chaotic. You have a base attack bonus of 4, mind combat, and and this is kind of a strange class. It's kind of weak, so some servers tend to buff it, or they do some sort of alterations to it. But you can do Rallying Cry, which is attack bonus and all that. Heroic Shield, Inspire Courage, Fear. Go for Wrath, which is the same thing as the Divine Champion one, plus Final Stand, which means plus 2d10 hit points toward a number of allies equal to the Purple Dragon Knight's level. And a Charisma bonus. Oh, that's pretty useful. And here, this is what it looks like when you level up. What is it recommended? As you can see here, we have a number of feats we qualify for. Okay, so here we qualify for improved knockdown. So we'll take that because it. But here's what it does. Here's the prerequisites. Character feat counts as one size larger than when he unites a knockdown attack, which means a medium-sized character counts as a large-sized character. Large-sized characters are things like dragons, larger golems, giants, and all that. Which means if you're smacking somebody who's smarter than you, you're pretty screwed. And monks receive this feat for level 6. It will tell you whether or not a class can receive a feat for free and at what level. That being said, let me just equip this VOD, because now we will reload our save after this and start the game proper.